But there are some novels worth looking at. But they haven't quite, for a number of reasons, kind of been able to be successfully sold overseas. So what happens is that if you get published by a Singapore publisher, it would be sold and distributed here in Singapore, possibly Malaysia. So that's where the tyranny of the numbers really come in, the math of it. Whereas if you talk about a literary fiction title in UK, the first print run would be 10, 20,000, 30,000, maybe 20,000 hardback. They release the hardback, and then maybe half a year later they release paperback. It's a whole business, you know, with literary agents who trade and sell rights. So, well, just use an example. So basically, I have the rights to your books, I sell it to different publishers. I mean, if I'm the agent, I try and make the most money out of it for myself and for my author that I represent. I go trading from publishing house to publishing house. I hawk the author at the festivals, different festivals around the world. I negotiate with the Japanese publisher who's interested in translating it, but then there are two Japanese publishers bidding for it, so I will pitch one against the other. You know, then I'll look at the Croatian translation, and then meanwhile Hollywood is knocking because there's also an option to film, right? And then there's another conversation. So that is the kind of great big commercial world of publishing out there, which honestly Singapore doesn't see a sliver of. Yeah.
So why not? Because that Singapore sees a sliver of every other commercial enterprise.
It's strange, yeah.
I mean, we bring them all here, so why not why don't you guys invite them all here?
That's
Put them up in a nice hotel
yeah.
and introduce them to a few Singapore writers. Yeah. Is that possible?
That's the stuff that keeps us awake at night. We have done that, not just us. I mean, the people interested in film would be MDA, right? That's Media Development Authority. They have brought down. But the sense, okay, I tell you from a publishing point of view, I mean, the literary agents who have seen Singaporean works, because, you know, we do support writers to go abroad, right? Sometimes they're based, like they're doing a Masters of Fine Arts abroad, or they're based overseas when they got their arts creation fund, right? And then they pitch, and the feedback that sometimes they get, well, this is a random feedback. For example, one, the work's not polished enough. Two, the Western audience will not like this work. It doesn't travel well. Yeah, it's too Singaporean. We've had that as well. There was a particular manuscript which I thought was quite interesting. It was writing about the political scene in the 60s, you know, with the McDonald House bomb blast and all that. And it was a series of families that was intertwined to the politics of that time. And caught up in the politics of that time, and then, you know, then in the 80s, what happened, the shadow of what happened in the 60s carries on in the 80s. And then he actually got to talk to a few publishers, got an agent. Agent said, I like the work. And then he tried to hawk it around, the publisher said, no, not quite, yeah. I'll give you another anecdote. Mira Chan, who is Swiss-British, right? Swiss-British-Indian, okay, Swiss-Indian, but holding a British passport. Is now based in Singapore. Her last book is actually based in Singapore. It's a historical fiction, but the sales figures is actually not the least, the weakest of all her titles. It's set in Singapore. So actually, the publishers, if you were to ask the publishers, they would say, well, you know, the author likes the readers in the West like her other books. And her other books were set in India and Japan. She lived in Japan. Mira Chan lived in Japan for about 20 years, so she wrote quite a fair number of titles. The West actually quite likes works in English about Japan. Works in English about India also sell well. But works in English about Singapore, where's that again? Yeah, you actually still do have where's that again, right? So
you need more deep historical pathos and tragedy.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever government puts in terms of schemes and incentives, at the end of the day, it's up to you guys. You know, you are the people creating the work. So then you have that challenge of saying, okay, I want to write something that's authentic, that feels it's really, you know, about me and not about the market. But then you have to factor what I just said, right? Yeah, so it's a tough one.
Yeah. Also, I suppose, as you said at the beginning, fostering a culture of reading too, so that people read enough that they want to write.
Yes.
Because you read enough that you want to write. Yeah. So we're doing our part, but we're making a reading room here.
Great.
The university isn't always supportive of books. They believe that the future is electronic communication. I know, that's strange to have that sentence come out.
Still language.
But I mean, even the Media Development Authority, I think there was some series of advertisements in the paper I saw recently, which kind of disturbed me. There was a young person who was there modeling, and the caption was something like, "Young people are fantastic. They don't care about books anymore. They think about the future." Do you anyone see that? There was some attack on the culture of reading, and it was I thought a misrepresentation by middle-aged people of the young. So anyway, we're making a reading room here, like a library. And we're going to stock her with books, not just computers. Yeah, good.
One small point though, before I forget, I don't want to sound all doom and gloom. There is one or two role models, at least for Singapore, I mean from my work point of view, that I think I will look up to, and that would be the Scandinavians. The Scandinavians have a very small population. Norway has like 5 million people, Sweden maybe about 9 million people. But they punch way above their weight in terms of literary output. You know what they are, right? The films and all the rest of that. So it is possible. But the key is that the Swedish people actually read Swedish authors. So you got to have that base. You see, and the Norwegian, they are so proud. I'm not kidding. The Norwegian embassy keeps knocking on our doors. Can you please bring in them? They're very passionate about about the Norwegian authors being featured and being recognized overseas. So they want to bring, so that's happening. I'll be frank, and this is going to be recorded, right? But never mind, I'll say it. I don't see Singapore embassies overseas doing that. I don't see them knocking on the literary festival of that country to say, my Singapore author, he's damn good, you've got to feature him. Now, our embassies abroad do not have a cultural attaché. The embassies, a lot of European embassies here do. That's why we get people knocking on our doors, the Spanish knock on our door, the Mexicans, the Norwegians, the Swedish, they've all come to NAC, thinking, oh, can you showcase our arts groups, our writers? So it's got to do with us as well. You have got to feel that the writing is something worth being proud of. But if your reading is that not happening, or your teachers don't guide you properly, maybe it's a combination of both, not very good quality, not very informed teachers in school, and you put it all together, nobody will read. Woohoo!
Well, should we go? Yeah.
But then again, like individual writers have to start somewhere, right?
Yes.
Like so my question is, like every time I try to start, and I'll get swamped with assignments or something like that. I get lazy, or how do you find that balance between budget proposal and writing?
No, maybe I'll speak when I was an undergrad. I actually published when I was an undergrad. My first book came out when I was in my 4th year. And because some of it was very personal stuff, the poetry, I don't want to sound flippant, but in a way the poetry wrote itself. It kind of had to be written. I can't explain it, but maybe some of you know that. Maybe sometimes you'll be in that space where something moves you so profoundly and affects your sense of being so profoundly, you have to write. And sometimes that's where the energy comes from. So even if it means writing at 3 AM in the morning, so be it. Even if it means the assignment is late, oops, so be it. And that did happen. But I think if you want to write, you want to write, And at some level, even though there's the bureaucrat hack, at some level I'm an idealist. I believe that writers write because they really do have something to say. So notwithstanding all my comments about the reality of the market size and publishing and all that, and I'm just hoping that that kind of impulse and energy, one fine day, the work will just come. The person who wrote it probably never thought about winning the Booker Prize, probably never thought about being published and having an agent in London or New York, but wrote from somewhere, deep inside. And that it is powerful, profound work that transcends national boundaries. And that would be wonderful. That would really be wonderful.
On a very positive note, I couldn't think of a better ending. Let's thank Paul for his time.
Thank you.
It's our tradition to have you linger over
Sure.
coffee and maybe some people talking.
So you do this nice
Wow, scholarship.